Like that's not just coincidence. I'm standing where they got murdered and I got goosebumps. No, it was actually them letting you know, thanks for being here, or whatever relationship that you and that individual have, it's going to be reflective in how real your connection to them was and how much you really respect them and appreciate them. Even if they were the ones that did the murder and then they got murdered, we know that it's cause and effect. If you're sleeping and you say, let's just wake him up, and you slap him, he might wake up, punch you in the face, because every action is an opposite reaction, right? But it really starts with how are we looking at these things, especially things like death and things like that. How are we looking at it? Once we're looking at it from the right perspective, right? Like everybody's perspective is not look inside first. Majority of people's perspective is there and then this way, when it should be this way first. Ground yourself and now look out and see what it is that you can see. All right? If that answered your question or helped at all. Okay? So the presentation today is natural hair. It's more than a hairstyle, because just like know thyself, some of these things have become they've become common because of popularity, not because people really understand why they're doing what they're doing. So we wanted to present some information to show you that the reason why you're going into this place of saying natural hair and treat yourself better and eat better and whatever like that is because it's the universe that's calling you. It's not because you're personally have been on this path and I'm finished with perms now because my scalp got burned and all that. It has nothing to do with that. It has to do, we're in a time right now called the awakening. We're in a time called the Aquarian age. We're in a time called the quickening, when our access to spiritual or divine intervention is peaking right now. But it's only going to be peaking if you're in the right mindset. If you're in the wrong mindset, you have natural hair today, tomorrow you're going to be back to perm, because you didn't really understand what you were getting yourself into. Just like when we say knowledge of self, and people think knowledge of self is dashiki and wearing African stuff and all that, but knowledge of self is about your mindset. If your mindset is not in the right place, then everything else is going to be just a waste of energy and time. Okay? Before we even talk about natural hair, we have to ask ourselves, do we consider ourselves natural beings? The reason why we ask this question is because in law there's two types of persons. There's artificial persons and then there's natural persons. Okay? This is a law dictionary that they got, all the courts out here, everybody got them, they know what this is. Okay? In the law dictionary it tells you that persons are of two kinds, natural and artificial. A natural person is a human being. An artificial person is a corporation. It has been held that when the word person is used in a legislative act, natural persons will be intended unless something appears in the context to show that it applies to artificial persons. A country is a person in a legal sense, right? So we have to first recognize, in order to activate what we call natural hair, right? In order to connect our hair to the Akashic records, which is the reservoir of intellect that all living things that are thinking are going to attach to. You have to be a natural person or none of this stuff is going to work. So what we do is we teach our people the truth about their nationality and birthrights, that we are not Negro, black, colored people or African people. Why? Because black is an adjective. We can't be that because we're human beings. can't be Negro because Negro is Spanish for black. And if you talk to somebody that speaks Spanish, they're not going to say Negro, they're going to say Moreno, right? We can't be colored because to be colored, again, which is a law term, it means that you're artificial if you say colored. So if somebody says we're National Association for the Advancement of Colored People, they're pretty much running a fraud. They're not being sincere, and they're really robbing you of your birthright because you're not colored people. We can't be African because Africa's a continent, and people come from countries. And when we ask people from Africa, they're going to say, I'm from Ethiopia, I'm from Eritrea, I'm from Sudan, I'm from Ghana, Nigeria. They're not going to say that they're African. Never do they say that they're African. And if they do say that they're African, more than likely they're around, quote unquote, unconscious Moors or black people who don't know their self. So in order for them not to feel threatened that these people are coming to take their stuff or whatever, they'll accommodate their limited mental capacity for what's going on in the world. Because as we know, our people don't go anywhere outside of where they say they live. And if they do go there, most of the time they go other places and it's on a tour. It's never they're going to deal with the actual people of the land. They're always dealing with somebody at some resort. Unless they go back home to, Trinidad, Jamaica, or whatever like that, where they know people, right? So if in your time, you're gonna go into any type of documentation that you ever got from so-called Canadian government, whether it's licensed, social, anything like that, you're gonna see that the names on those things are written in all capital letters. You just pull them out right now and you could check. All the things written in all capital letters are letting you know that you're an artificial person, especially if it has your picture on it and you signed it saying that this name in all capital letters is yours. Now we know that we were taught to capitalize nouns. So if you have a name, first letter is capital, everything else is common letters. When you go check all the stuff, everything's written in all caps. So clearly, that's not you. If you wrote your name in all caps on the test, you got 0. Because the first thing the teacher's looking at is, can you write your name? So by classifying ourselves as Negro, black, colored, and everything else, keep in mind that the Negro, black, colored is the first artificial person as far as history is concerned with people. There's no Chinese people that call themselves yellow people. There's no people from Pakistan that call themselves brown people. There's no natives that say that they're red people. The only people that do this is so-called Negro, black, colored people in North America. That's it. Nobody else in the world identifies themselves by colors. Nobody else in the world identifies themselves by adjectives and continents. We're the only ones that do that. So when we see things happen to our people that seems like they're victims or whatever like that, comes back to the thing, look in your own yard. And if you have high grass, stop talking about other people's yard. Because they will defend the fact that, why are you talking about my yard when your stuff is not even proper, right? So again, just do your research on artificial persons, versus natural persons, and all capital letters names on documents. And you'll get information regarding that. Now this is on the natural hair haters. This is how they talk. Dreadlocks and natural hair and things like that are affiliated to negative things. Right? That's why they always call people's antennas locks, dreadlocks. Because a lock, same stuff with slavery, right? And dread is a word that has negative meaning behind it. So if you're saying dreadlocks, you're locked in negativity. This is their mentality. So employ people that go with locks, that you don't call it dreadlocks. Because as soon as you call it dreadlocks, you cut off your connection. Because you're calling that negative energy on yourself. Just like when we go in the dictionary, we look up black, it's everything negative. So as soon as you say, I'm black, you just put all that negative stuff on you. And then when we look at the people who call themselves black, we realize that their conditions are worse than everybody else. And maybe it's because of what they call themselves. Because when we write words, it's spelling. But spells are magic. Spells aren't just put letters together. Or spelling is not just putting letters together. Spells are magic. So if you don't know what you're saying, or put it this way, be careful what you ask for because you might get it. Be careful what you ask for because you might get it. Right? In Japanese traditions, hair is considered to contain the life essence and is a repository of fertility. In Japanese traditions, not in yellow people's traditions. So when you're doing your studying on anything, recognize that certain people get called by a nationality and certain people get called by colors. Right? Most of the time, the individual who's called by a nationality is in the ruling class, and the one that's called colors, adjectives, continents, or whatever, they're in the lower caste. And that's just what it is. It's nothing personal. It's not racism. It's some stupid people rather not have a nationality. Even though nationality is the order of the day and everybody around them has one. Okay? In Taoist traditions, it is said that for men, excessive emissions will lead to hair loss and premature aging. Initially, cutting hair was something that conquerors did to control and enslave the people of the land. So the Aboriginal people of the land, everywhere, at one time, saw long hair as something that has, it's directly opposite of enslavement. Because if you had natural hair and your hair was long, more than likely you were a free individual or you were a natural person. Okay? They did this because they knew that it would weaken the people and lessen their sensitivity to subtle information. Which goes back again to the connection that individuals have to what's known as the Akashic Records. And the Akashic Records, again, is the well of consciousness that all living things have access to retrieve information, to bring it down into their mind so they can do something with it on the earth plane. Right? This is what it is. This is why there's such a raised energy about going natural and things like that right now, because right now we're in the age of Aquarius. And from a metaphysical perspective, the individual that's astrological, the man holding the pitcher and he's pouring out the water, which is Aquarius, the water represents knowledge. And it takes, in order for the age to switch, it's going to be 2,600 years that the sun is going to be in that cycle. So there's going to be 2,600 years of this individual pouring out water or pouring out information. So information is going to be, this is why it's such a threat right now, because people have information in their hand every day. You go on the internet anytime and research anything at any time once you have Wi-Fi. And we know as a people that our people die because of lack of knowledge. The only reason why our people are dying is because they lack knowledge. There's no other reason. Nobody's fault. Nobody did it. Scriptures tell us that. You lack knowledge, you're going to perish. If you don't honor your foremothers and forefathers, you're going to perish. We are some of the most unhonoring